Howdy everyone, my name is Paul Toon, and welcome to the first inaugural episode of Toon Globe Reviews. This is a project that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. I've always had a love of cartoons and the cartooning arts and everything, but I've never really discussed it at length. Okay, that's not true, I discuss it at length all the time with people. But I've never really done it in a formal setting like this, so this is new and exciting for me. I have had a problem though, where to start? I mean, I don't want to limit myself to a particular genre of tunes or a particular medium within that. So, where do you begin in the entire great world that is cartooning? Do I start, for instance, with some of the cartoons that I grew up with? Something that I look back with a nostalgic eye that's only gotten better with time? Do I start with something that was extremely anger-inducing, something that I read and was just insulted me to my very core? Or do I start with something I'm most passionate about, like Peanuts, for instance, the greatest cartoon ever made? Well, Peanuts is something that I will get to at one point in the future, but I'm saving it for a special occasion. As for the other two, I just kept bouncing back and forth between which one to actually start with. And then today I went to see a little movie from Disney, a new 3D animated movie called Frozen. Now, anyone who's been on the internet for more than 5 seconds in the past 3 or 4 months can tell you that a lot of stuff about this movie Frozen, about how the characters are so wonderfully created, how the artistic design is beautiful and exquisite, how the soundtrack is amazingly melodic and beautiful. But I actually haven't heard a whole lot about the plot. And it wasn't until recently I found a dollar show showing the movie. So, yeah, I decided to go for it and go see what all the hype was about, as it were. So, Frozen. Where to start with this? How about let's start with the aesthetics. There's a lot of themes in this movie about Nordics and Nordic culture and Scandinavian, and it certainly comes across, particularly 18th century styles. Kind of Napoleonic, Crimean War. I know those are two very distinct different parts of the time scale, but there's a lot of that kind of influence to it. And being a history buff myself, I love it. Loved it. Loved every bit of how it looked. The beauty in the snow and the forming of the crystals, it was just magnificent, I gotta say. Very, very spot on. The cartooning style of the characters themselves was also very unique and very good. I personally loved not only Elsa's design, but Sven, the reindeer. Don't know exactly why, but yeah, he was wonderful, glorious, amazing little creature to look at. So moving on from the character designs, let's move on to the characters themselves. Well, first off you have Anna, the great, impossibly optimistic girl. Then you have Elsa, who is the cursed one. You have Hans, the handsome prince from a foreign land. Sven, the local boy. You have Olaf, the talking snowman. Oh jeez, this guy. Olaf was... he was very annoying to me. Not particularly a character I liked. There was only really one scene in there that I was genuinely laughing at what he was saying. For the most part, I was just going, oh dear Lord, just why is he here? I understand you want to have a character created from Elsa's magic that kind of has some semblance to the past, but really, did you have to make him so annoying? I don't think it was the voice actor's job. I don't think it was the voice. It was a lot more in the script, and that's just a lot of stupid sight gags that really didn't help and didn't click with me, so I don't know, maybe your opinion is different, but me, Olaf was not the best. Sven, on the other hand, acting like a dog, I can get behind that. I don't know, maybe is that a double standard? I don't know. Of course, one of the major points everybody is talking about is the music, the soundtrack. Everybody and their dog seems to love their soundtrack. And, well, I could say that it's good music. I highly enjoyed it. But in the context of the movie, I don't know, it just seemed like there was too much of it. It just seemed like everybody was breaking out a song and dance every 5 seconds. I don't know, maybe they were trying to go for more operatic feel with it, given the Scandinavian, even though opera's actually German, but minor details. So yeah, I'd say the music was good, but there was too much of it for my taste. Now let's move on to the plot. The true make or break of any cartoon, of any story. Well, first off, spoiler alerts for anybody who hasn't seen the movie yet and doesn't want anything spoiled, because I'm going to talk about the ending eventually and all the parts in between, so, you know. First off, I'd say it felt rushed. And especially the first few minutes when, the first act, I should say, when Elsa accidentally hit Anna with her ice powers and essentially nearly killed her, basically. That was too fast. That happened too fast, in my opinion. It should have been more drawn out. Not necessarily the understanding why Anna was cursed, but more the results of that, because it was just one song, which I guess that's the point of a musical. You're supposed to take a huge amount of time, condense it down to a small area, but I don't know, it just felt too rushed. And then the most bizarrely short period I thought actually came from Elsa, when her powers were revealed out to the public and the populace of the nation, and she ran off, which I understood that all was paced fine. And then she gets isolated and seems to go, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs to an extent. She basically says, I'm now free and alone and can do whatever I want, and I was expecting her to break out into maniacal laughter at any moment. And I don't know, it just seemed like it was... I realized she ran up the entire side of a mountain to get there, but just too fast. But that was only in the first act. The second and third acts paced themselves a lot better. Again, the music was starting to grate on me by that point. Not that the music was bad, it's just so much song after song after song. Ugh. So, I've already given away part of it. So yeah, Elsa hits Anna with her ice powers, nearly killing her, and then they have to grow up basically hiding away Elsa's powers. So, you know, good plot there, good idea. And it makes her more distant from not only the kingdom, and the whole family becomes very distant from the kingdom, but they also have to hide it from Anna, because the trolls, who basically gave them the cure and said, we can help Anna out here, they basically said, you need to hide this from her, remove all knowledge of her magic. On that note, the trolls are kind of jerks, because they tell Elsa and their parents, you need to control your powers, you need to learn how to control it. They don't tell her how. And so, you know, they just decide, well, okay, we're going to isolate her from everything. The king says this and says, okay, we're going to isolate her from basically everyone. She's going to be alone, and she can learn to control her powers that way. And the trolls don't say, no, that's not going to work. That's just going to lead down to the bad stuff that we are foretelling you. So, you know, you're supposed to remove fear. Here's how you remove fear. And they just said, remove fear. Ooh. But at the same time, you wouldn't have much of a plot if they didn't keep going with that. So, you have the standard Disney thing of there's the two parents and they're in a loving relationship and they have two kids and they're wonderful, and then the parents get killed. Duh. But of course, I'm not going to fault the movie too much on that. You know, the parents were... I wanted to see more of them, but at the same time, you know, it does kind of drive the plot along, so not too much fault. So, once the parents have been killed, of course, because it's Disney, then you move into the coronation, in which Elsa comes of age, because Elsa's the elder sister, by the way, where she comes of age and basically has to present herself to the kingdom, saying, you know, here's the coronation ceremony, here's the party after, standard fare like that. And of course, the entire time she's worried that her power is going to be revealed, and she's taken to be wearing these gloves on her hands, because I'm not sure exactly how it works, but when her skin, especially on her hands, is exposed, she's more likely to throw out the powers, throw out the ice, you know. and she still doesn't have real control over it, which is, again, trolls. Didn't she just tell her how to solve the fear? But so the coronation happens. Dignitaries from all over the world come in, and suddenly you're starting to getting Brave flashbacks. I mean, there's a princess who's being presented essentially, and they have all these dignitaries come in, and then the princess goes off to solve whatever the curse is with the other member of the family, and then they come back, and it's all happily ever after. So I will say it took a lot of inspiration from Brave. Not that I'm going to fault it for that though either, because Brave, I love Brave. It was a fantastic movie. Being part Scottish myself, I absolutely got every single joke and loved it absolutely to death. So, moving on then. Anna is been shut in basically this entire time, and loves to be out. She loves being able to see all these wonderful different things, and she eventually comes across a prince of the Southern Isles, who is Prince Hans is his name. And she's immediately smitten with him, and they have this budding romance that over the course of the day, again, this is like 2 minutes or something, he proposes marriage and she accepts, and then they run off to Elsa to get their blessing. And this is where the first major plot point comes in, second, I guess, because Elsa says, "You just met him, what is wrong with you?" And then Anna gets upset, Elsa gets upset at Anna being upset, and starts walking away, and then, her powers are revealed. Pretty standard fare. And when this happens, everyone pulls a Monty Python and starts screaming, "A witch! A witch! She's a witch!" And, she runs off. Elsa runs off. Anna, of course, being the strong female protagonist in a Disney movie, decides, "I'm going to go after her," instead of, ordering the troops. But at the same time, this is her sister, not going to fault it. So, Elsa now is in the top of the North Mountain, I think it's called. And she basically makes Superman's Fortress of Solitude. Yeah, it's basically a giant ice palace on the top of on the peak of the mountain. And, of course, what happens is, while she's running away, her powers become so out of control that she freezes the kingdom. Yeah, the entire kingdom. I don't know how big this kingdom is, but she definitely gets rid of the fjord. Frozen. Just completely solid ice. So, Anna going after her, instead of sending troops and, leading the troops and saying, "Hey, come back, it's okay, we're not going to, do anything." She eventually stumbles upon a trading post. I absolutely love that. It's the most Scandinavian, the most Swedish of all of the characters was in there, and I thought it was funny. And she meets up with Kristoff and his reindeer Sven, who were hinted at earlier when they were little kids, and it had to do with some stuff. Anyways, so Kristoff is there, and they meet up, and he says, "I'm going to the north of the mountain to see what the heck is going on." And Anna says, "Okay, I'll come with you." He's like, "No," and she's like, "Yeah, I'm coming with you. You are taking me up there." "Okay, fine." Again, standard fare. Does seem to be a running theme of this, is standard fare, standard fare, standard fare. Well, so they get up to the north of the mountain, and they meet Olaf in the meantime, and just every time that guy was on screen. So they get to Elsa anyways, moving on. They get to Elsa at the top, and Elsa basically says, "Oh, glad to see you. You can't stay here. You better go. I can't control this power." And Anna keeps, saying, "You're my sister. We can do this. Don't have to hide anymore. Come back with me." And actually, that was kind of funny in that she was like, "You should go back to the kingdom." And Anna was like, "Yeah, about that. Kind of can't." And of course, Elsa isn't listening and says, "You have to go away. It's your destiny to stay there. I must be alone." And eventually Anna finally gets in a word and says, "You know what? The kingdom is frozen. It's in perpetual winter right now. You gotta fix this." Which just sends Elsa even more depressed because she didn't realize her powers were that out of whack, essentially. Sven, Kristoff, and Anna are chased out of Elsa's Palace of Solitude by a giant snow golem. Yes, there's a giant snow golem in here. Pretty cool. And they get chased off the mountain, and they eventually come up to Sven's family, essentially the people who raised him, who are, not by coincidence exactly, but they're the trolls from earlier who helped cure Anna in the first time. Oh, I forgot to mention, Anna at this point has been hit again by Elsa and is cursed with a frozen heart. Essentially, if they can't reverse it, she'll be turned into a block of ice. And essentially the trolls, when they get there, tell them that the only way to thaw a frozen heart is through an act of true love. And they immediately jump to the conclusion that true loves kiss. Oh dear. Why, Disney? Why you do this to us? Another one of your silly little princesses, really? It just, ugh. So, and of course, they decide, well, we have to go get Hans because she's engaged to Hans and clearly must love Hans. And, Kristoff at this point is developing feelings for her. Of course, they've known each other for all of maybe 2 days instead of one. I don't know, maybe 3 days have passed by this point, I don't know. But yeah, and meanwhile, Hans is kind of running the castle, essentially. Anna left him in charge, and they get her back. Kristoff leaves, of course, because he has to turn away, because, she is not his betrothed and must leave. And yeah, it turns out Hans is evil. Saw that plot point coming from a mile away when he said that he had 12 brothers and that he proposed marriage in under 24 hours of knowing this girl. And yeah, it turns out he was just in it for the kingdom. Again, gosh, Disney, why do you do this to us? Same old, same old, same old. And of course, Kristoff comes back and... Oh, another point I forgot to mention. Elsa at this point has been captured. Hans and a group of others went up to capture Elsa after they found out that Anna had essentially gone missing. Her horse came back and she wasn't with the horse, so Anna's missing. Let's go get Elsa and get her to fix this. And yeah, she gets captured and locked in the dungeon. And then they essentially, when Hans basically reveals his evilness, again, sent from a mile away, he basically abandons Anna, tells everyone she's dead. Oh dear Lord, she's dead. We must now kill Elsa, and that's the only way we can end this curse. So they go to kill Elsa. Elsa breaks out of the dungeon and runs off. Doesn't get particularly far though. There's a massive storm coming. Anna, Olag, I should back up for a moment. Olaf sees Kristoff riding back on Sven, come back and, to his true beloved. Oh, this is a true act of love. They must, kiss and then the curse will be broken. And so Anna goes running out to Kristoff. Kristoff is running to her. And in the meantime, you have Elsa running and Hans following her, trying essentially to execute her to end this. And when Hans says that essentially Elsa had killed Anna, which she almost had at this point, which technically is true, then the storm suddenly ceased. Just stopped. And you see Hans with a sword, you see Elsa bent down crying, weeping for having killed her sister. And then you have, over on another side, Kristoff and Anna looking at each other. And then they start running. Kristoff starts running towards Anna, thinking, you gotta kiss her, cure the curse. Then Anna looks over and sees Hans about to draw his sword down on Elsa. Anna runs not to Kristoff, but to her sister. Her sister who has done nothing but push her away, not answer her questions, not give her even a chance. She runs, and the moment the sword comes down, Anna is in the way and is turned to ice. The sword breaks. Thank you, Disney. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, that alone, that took this from just a standard Disney princess movie to something actually good, something glorious. Finally, it's not true love from two people who know each other, but they brought up familial love, the love between siblings, between, oh, that made it all worth it. I am not kidding here. I wouldn't say I was bored. The visuals were pretty, but I felt the plot was just eh. But then that was the sacrifice. That was the act of true love. And oh dear Lord, oh, so good. Yeah, absolutely excellent, I gotta say. Everything that was built up was kind of, if you weren't paying attention really, really close, you would have probably gone for the original direction. Now, it's going to be Kristoff kiss Anna, and yay, true love wins out. But it wasn't. It was the family. It was the fact that she sacrificed herself for her sister for pure love. And that was brilliant. That is the kind of thing we want to see more of in kids shows. I mean, the old legends and the old classics, they have their place, but you gotta explore new things with it, and this did that. Within a single minute, this whole movie's tone changed for me, to the point where it was really, really good. So good. So yeah, Frozen, I'd say I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it yet. If you have seen it, well, you already knew that. So, yeah. Well, everybody, this has been my first video. I can't really think of much else to talk about with it, so thanks for listening, and I don't know. What am I going to do for next time, though? I've got all these books here. I've got a bunch of DVDs. I do need something to feel a bit older, a bit more classic, as it were, and I think I know where to begin. See y'all.